Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, and leave a comment, because this one digs into the darkest corners of Silicon Valley, where innovation meets obsession, and where one brilliant mind crossed a line no one saw coming, until it was too late. The night the body was found, the storm over Palo Alto felt almost scripted, sheets of rain slamming against glass towers and million-dollar homes as if trying to wash away something the city didn't want to confront. At 2:18 a.m., officers responded to a silent alarm triggered inside a sleek, ultramodern smart home belonging to rising tech executive Maya Arlen, the 32-year-old co-founder of Neuralink Logic, one of the Valley's fastest-growing AI startups. When police entered, they expected to find a malfunction or maybe an attempted break-in. Instead, they found Maya face down on the polished concrete floor of her home office, motionless, her laptop still glowing beside her. The screen displayed lines of code she'd been working on, something about a predictive behavioral engine, its last line frozen mid-sentence, as if her hands had been ripped away from the keyboard. But it wasn't the body that unsettled the officers. It was the room itself. Every camera in the house had been disabled. Every smart lock had been overridden. And the only sign someone else had been there at all was a single object left with deliberate placement on her desk, a prototype security key, the kind her company had been developing in secret, engraved with 3 words. "You missed something." Detective Elena Grayson, a veteran with a reputation for seeing patterns others didn't, arrived minutes later. She kneeled beside the body, taking in the details, the lack of struggle, the precision of the break-in, the eerie stillness of the home's perfectly optimized systems. Nothing was out of place, and that was exactly the problem. "This wasn't impulsive," she murmured. "Somebody rehearsed this." By dawn, the tech community buzzed with rumors. Maya had been preparing for a major product announcement. Her startup had recently rejected a $1 billion acquisition offer from Titanet, a massive Silicon Valley conglomerate known for swallowing smaller companies whole. She'd also filed a confidential report with the FBI about a suspected data breach. Only her inner circle knew about that. Whoever left the token on her desk wanted someone to see it, and understand it. As daylight broke through the storm clouds, Elena headed to Neuralink Logic's headquarters, a minimalist glass and steel building sitting in the heart of Mountain View. Employees stood in clusters, whispering, their eyes wide with grief and fear. Maya wasn't just a founder, she was the architect of their technology, the magnetic force behind their rapid rise. Elena met with the leadership team. Daniel Kessler, the COO, calm to the point of coldness. Priya Chandran, head of security engineering, who looked like she hadn't slept in days. Jonas Reed, lead programmer and Maya's rumored confidant, a quiet man with restless hands and darting eyes. They claimed they had no idea who would target Maya. But Elena felt something simmering beneath the surface, a pressure no one wanted to give voice to. During the interview, Priya hesitated before adding, We thought someone was watching us." Maya said she felt it too. "Watching you how?" Elena asked. "Online. Everywhere." She said the breach she reported wasn't just data theft. It felt personal. Personal. That word lodged itself in Elena's mind. She requested access to the internal servers, but the moment the security team attempted to retrieve system logs from the previous week, the monitors flickered. A corrupted directory appeared where their encrypted system should have been. Lines of overwritten code cascaded down the screen like a digital waterfall. Someone had erased everything. Not sloppy, surgical. "That's impossible," Jonas whispered. "These systems are isolated. Air-gapped. Whoever did this, they knew our architecture better than we do. Or they had help from the inside." Later that afternoon, Elena drove to Maya's home again, this time with a digital forensics specialist. As the specialist unpacked equipment, Elena paced the office where Maya had died. She stared at the engraved message on the prototype key. "You missed something." It wasn't taunting. It was instructive. She scanned the room again, walls, floor, desk, ceiling. Something kept tugging at her attention, something almost too mundane, the home smart assistant hub mounted discreetly behind a decorative panel. It looked untouched, but Elena noticed a hairline crack around the frame. She pried the panel off. Behind it, jammed into the circuitry, was a microtransmitter the size of a coin, an advanced model used for remote audio surveillance. Whoever planted it had knowledge of high-end hardware, home automation systems, and black hat techniques. The forensics specialist examined it and exhaled sharply. "This tech isn't commercially available. It's custom. Someone built this for her house specifically." Elena felt the weight of it. This was no random stalker. This was someone with resources, precision, and a chilling degree of patience. She asked the specialist to isolate the device's memory cache. It held only one recovered fragment, corrupted, but decipherable enough to make out a distorted timestamp and a single partial audio clip, a whisper, low and close to the microphone. Only 2 words came through. Not yet. Elena froze. Whoever had done this hadn't just watched Maya. They had waited. And they weren't finished. But the real shock came seconds later, when the forensic specialist ran deeper diagnostics, searching for the device's origin ID. It pinged a partial match using local Bluetooth signature mapping, and the signal came from someone within the investigation. Someone who had been in the house that morning. Elena's eyes widened. One of them was lying. And when she checked the system records for the morning entry logs, she noticed one more irregularity, something she had overlooked in the chaos. One member of the team had arrived 30 minutes before anyone else, long before the coroner or the tech forensics unit. Someone who had a keycard. Someone who claimed they hadn't seen anything unusual. Someone who might be far more involved than they pretended. Elena stared at the timestamp, her pulse spiking. And that's when she realized, the Silicon Valley Stalker was already closer than anyone imagined. The timestamp glared at Elena from the tablet screen like a warning, 6:42 a.m. The building's alarms had been triggered at 7:11. No first responder had arrived before 7:29. But someone with authorized access, had stepped into Maya Arlen's house nearly half an hour before official personnel. Only 3 people had that kind of access: Maya, her co-founder Daniel Kessler, and her security chief, Priya Chandran. Maya was dead. That left 2. Elena's jaw tightened. If one of them had entered the property early, they could have tampered with the scene, removed evidence, planted something, or wiped something clean before anyone else arrived. The question now wasn't just who killed Maya. It was who had come back to make sure she stayed silent. Elena didn't alert anyone. Not yet. Instead, she drove straight to Neuralink Logic headquarters again, this time unannounced. The moment she entered the security floor, she noticed the tension, engineers huddled over screens, whispering urgently, eyes darting toward her. It wasn't shock this time. It was fear. Priya stood at the center console, barking orders about firewall reconstructions and emergency system locks. When she saw Elena, her shoulders stiffened. "Bad day to visit," she muttered. "Someone's been messing with our servers again. We're trying to rebuild logs manually." Elena stepped closer. "Where were you this morning at 6:42? Priya blinked. I was here." "Why? You sure about that?" Priya swallowed hard. "Detective, what's going on?" But before Elena could decide whether to push, Daniel Kessler strode in, interrupting the standoff. His shirt was pressed, his demeanor collected, almost too collected. "Detective Grayson," he said smoothly. "If you needed access to any more files, you could have asked." Elena studied him carefully. Daniel was brilliant, widely respected, and deeply private. Since the company's founding, he'd cultivated a reputation as the operations mastermind behind Maya's genius. But according to internal reports, the two had argued frequently in recent months, about security, about data transparency, and about the future of the company. Daniel's gaze didn't waver once. "Actually, I'm here for something else," Elena replied. "Someone used their access card to enter Maya's house before the police arrived." The room went silent. Priya's eyes widened. Jonas, who had been hovering near the door, froze. Daniel didn't flinch. "Are you accusing one of us?" he asked calmly. "No," Elena said, stepping closer. "I'm stating a fact, someone was there. And whoever it was lied." Jonas spoke first, voice shaky. "Why would any of us go back there? Why risk that? Unless..." He stopped. Everyone stared. Elena turned toward him. "Unless what?" Jonas hesitated, glancing nervously at Daniel and Priya. "Unless they were looking for something Maya had. Something she didn't want anyone to see." Priya snapped, "Jonas, stop. Don't start with theories." But Jonas continued, voice trembling. "She didn't trust the board. She didn't trust Daniel. She didn't trust..." Daniel's voice cut sharply across him. "I think we're done here." Elena's instincts buzzed. Jonas's fear wasn't performative. It was real. She locked eyes with him, silently urging him to keep talking, but he shut down instantly, shoulders curling inward. He was terrified. Not of her. Of someone in the room. Elena left the building more convinced than ever that whatever Neuralink Logic was building, whatever Maya died for, went far beyond a tech merger or a stolen idea. Someone was covering tracks with almost mathematical precision. She returned to the police station to examine the microtransmitter recovered from Maya's house. The device was unlike anything she'd seen, compact, custom fabricated, and equipped with a self-erasing buffer that activated if tampered with. The team managed to salvage only fragments of audio. Hours of surveillance had been wiped down to seconds. But the second clip they recovered chilled Elena to the core. A quiet conversation. Maya's voice, exhausted, anxious. A man's voice, controlled, confident. Maya, I told you, I'm not signing anything until I understand where the data is going. Man, you don't have time to understand. Maya, you can't threaten me. Man, I already have. Then static. That single snippet said more than any log or memo. Maya had been pressured, cornered, by someone she knew. Someone close. Elena replayed the clip over and over, trying to match the male voice to Daniel, Jonas, or anyone else she'd met. But the audio distortion made it impossible. She needed another angle. She pulled the forensics report from Maya's laptop. Buried deep in the terminal logs was an encrypted folder with fragments of code labeled Project Helix. The name hadn't come up once. Not from Daniel. Not from Priya. Not from anyone. And yet Maya had been working on it in the minutes before she died. The encryption was powerful, military level, but the folder metadata contained something unexpected, a mirrored backup tied to a physical device. A device that, according to the system's last ping, was still active. Location, Maya's storage unit in East Palo Alto. It was enough to get a warrant. 2 hours later, Elena stood inside the dim, cold storage facility as the metal door to Unit 44 rolled up. The air smelled stale, like cardboard and dust. Shelves lined the walls, boxes, crates, sealed containers. But one object stood out immediately, a hardened, temperature-controlled case with a biometric lock. Her heartbeat quickened. She pressed her thumb to the police override reader. The lock clicked open. Inside sat a slim, matte black laptop and a folder labeled in bold red marker. Read only if I'm dead. Elena opened the folder. Inside were printed screenshots of internal Neuralink logic emails, timelines of deleted logs, hardware schematics matching the transmitter in Maya's home. And at the very back, circled in red ink, was a single photograph. A security camera still. Timestamped, 6:42 a.m. Location, Maya's house. Image, a shadowed figure entering through the side door. The face was obscured by a hood. But the body language, the posture, the height, the gait, looked unmistakably familiar. Elena's stomach dropped. She knew exactly who it was. And that person had stood right in front of her hours earlier. Her mind raced as the implications clicked into place. This wasn't just a murder. This was a cover-up. A corporate secret worth killing for. And the Silicon Valley Stalker? They weren't some ghost in the wires. They were someone with everything to lose. Elena stared at the photo again, heart pounding, as the realization settled like ice in her lungs. The real hunt had just begun. The photograph trembled slightly in Elena's grip, not because the image was unclear, but because it was unmistakably familiar. The figure entering Maya's home at 6:42 a.m. was tall, deliberate in movement, shoulders held back with practiced confidence. Daniel Kessler. The COO. The company's steady hand. The man who never once broke composure during questioning. He had been there. He had lied. And he had tried to bury whatever Maya uncovered. Elena placed the photo back into the folder, her mind already racing. She had enough for a warrant, but not enough to corner him safely. If Daniel had gone to such lengths, tampering with evidence, wiping server logs, planting a surveillance device, he wouldn't hesitate to run, or worse. As she zipped the folder into an evidence bag, her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number flashed across the screen. You're moving too close. Leave the Helix material where you found it. No threats. No demands. Just cold certainty. Elena's stomach tightened. Someone was monitoring her movements in real time. The only way that was possible was through either hacked police infrastructure, or someone with access to Neuralink logic security tools. She pocketed the phone and got out of the storage unit before whoever sent the message tried something bolder. The metal door rattled shut behind her, echoing through the dim hallway like a warning. Back at headquarters, Elena gathered her team. She laid out the evidence, Maya's folder, the printed emails, the photograph. Daniel Kessler entered Maya Arlen's home 30 minutes before authorities arrived, she stated. He accessed her systems, removed evidence, and likely stole or destroyed whatever she'd uncovered. Her partner, Detective Ruiz, frowned. If he's the shooter, why come back? Because he wasn't looking for Maya, Elena said. He was looking for Project Helix. Ruiz skimmed the folder. This tech, predictive behavioral modeling tied to real-time personal data. This could be worth billions. Which makes it worth killing for. Ruiz exhaled sharply. We need him in custody. We need him cornered first, Elena replied. And to do that, we need to know where he's going. At that moment, an officer rushed into the briefing room, breathless. Detective, we just got a call. Jonas Reed wants to meet. Off-site. Says it's urgent. Elena exchanged a glance with Ruiz. Jonas had been terrified earlier. If he was reaching out now, he was either ready to confess, or he was in danger. Where? She asked. Pier 37. 15 minutes. Elena grabbed her coat. The pier was quiet, wind whipping across the dark water. Elena spotted Jonas huddled near a lamppost, hood pulled low, hands shaking. He flinched when she approached. I don't have much time, he said, voice trembling. He's watching everything. Daniel? Elena asked cautiously. Jonas swallowed, eyes darting. You don't get it. He built Helix behind Maya's back. She found out. She wanted it shut down. What does Helix do, exactly? Jonas hesitated, then whispered, it predicts people. Not behavior in general, individuals. Their decisions, their weaknesses, their responses. With enough data, it can anticipate someone's actions before they make them. Elena's blood chilled. That's not just analytics, Jonas continued. It's control. And Maya refused to let Daniel release it? She threatened to take her concerns public. He panicked. Tried to scare her. But she wasn't scared anymore. She told him she'd copied the Helix files and stored them offsite. Daniel demanded she hand them over. And when she wouldn't, Elena murmured, the truth crystallizing, he silenced her. Jonas nodded, tears pooling in his eyes. But he's not done. He knows you found her backup. He knows you're the only one who can expose him. He'll come for you next. Before Elena could respond, a sudden click echoed from the shadows. Footsteps. Slow. Measured. A tall figure stepped into the lamplight. Daniel Kessler. His calm, icy stare locked onto Elena. Detective, he said, voice steady. You should have stopped when I warned you. Jonas stumbled backward. Daniel didn't even glance at him. You broke into a federal crime scene, Elena said, keeping her voice level. You tampered with evidence. You threatened Maya. And then you killed her. Daniel's lips curled slightly. You think this is about a single person? Helix is the future. Predictive governance, security forecasting, it will stabilize society. Maya didn't understand that. But you, detective, you're standing in the way of progress. Elena stepped subtly between Daniel and Jonas. You built a tool to manipulate people, she said. And the moment someone questioned you, you eliminated them. Daniel's expression hardened. I correct variables. Maya was a variable. Now you are too. He moved. Fast. But Elena was faster. Her hand shot to her holster. Stop. Daniel froze, not out of fear, but calculation. He studied her stance, her trigger finger, her breathing. Trying to predict her next move, the same way Helix would. For once, he failed. Because Elena wasn't predictable. She wasn't part of his tech. She was human, uncontrolled, uncertain. And Daniel, for the first time, looked unsure. Ruiz and two officers burst from behind the pier warehouse, weapons drawn. Daniel Kessler. Ruiz shouted. Hands where we can see them. For a moment, Daniel hesitated. Then he slowly lifted his hands, jaw clenched with silent fury. As they cuffed him, he leaned toward Elena, voice cold as glass. You think arresting me stops Helix? Others know. Others want it. You've delayed the future, detective, but you haven't stopped it. Elena stared at him, unshaken. Maya tried to warn the world. Now I will. Daniel smirked, but there was no confidence left, only dread. He'd lost control. Weeks later, after the indictment, after the files were seized, after the public scandal tore through Silicon Valley, Elena revisited Maya's storage unit one last time. She placed a hand on the evidence crate containing Maya's final message, the words she had written across the folder echoing in her mind. Read only if I'm dead. Maya hadn't been paranoid. She had been right. As Elena turned off the light and shut the storage door, her phone buzzed. Another unknown number. Another message. Helix was only version 1. Elena stared at the screen, pulse quickening. Somewhere out there, someone was still watching. Still building. Still waiting. And the Silicon Valley Stalker? He was behind bars. But the ideas he unleashed? Those were still free. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for the next one. Hit subscribe so you don't miss it.